Pseudo legends have been a staple part of Pokemon ever since the introduction of Dragonite with the launch of Red and Blue. With each generation comes some of the most iconic and game-defining Pokemon in the metagame. Tyranitar and Johto is a great example.
But I wanted to expand on my video topics of turning Pokemon into pseudo legendaries and explore if Game Freak were to choose other Pokemon to replace these powerful beasts.
We do, however, need to alter some of the criteria to pick the Pokemon from, as pseudo legendaries have 3 key characteristics which define who they are: a base stat total of 600, an experience group of slow, and having a 3-stage evolution line. I'm keeping the 3-stage evolutionary requirement in place, then further buffing a Pokemon's stats up to 600 alongside their XP group. To begin with Generation 1, Pokemon like Gengar and Alakazam are not only iconic, but have pre-existing power on the level of some pseudos and even legendaries. But their designs struggle to give off the personality of a pseudo legend, who are based on large, gargantuan creatures with aggressive features.
Well, for the most part at least. I'm looking at you, Dragonite.
Poliwrath and Machamp were also highly considered, but didn't make the cut because of one big purple fella: Nidoking. Now see, Nidoking was a no-brainer for me. Poison firstly is unique as a pseudo-legend type, and its Pokedex entries are all intimidating and reckless. It's described as having absurd levels of destruction with its tail and armor-like skin. Most obviously though, its design being catered towards a scary reptile fit the theme all too well. I mean, let me just ask you, if you had no idea any of these Pokemon existed, which one of these 3 would you guess as a pseudo? Point demonstrated. As per its stat total sitting at 505, the 95 points will be distributed as follows: 15 attack, 30 special attack, 15 speed, 17 defense, and 18 special defense. The offensive increases came as justifications for running mixed attacking sets with the grace of enhancing its sheer force specific coverage options. More speed was thrown in for some slight advantages against Pokemon that threaten it, like Excadrill, and its new chubby nature with extra bulk was given for statistical balance. And of course, we're changing every single Pokemon's XP rate from here on out to slow for tradition. Johto is up next for pickings, and my god, things are not looking good for it. Barring the starter Pokemon, there's 3 Pokemon with a multi-stage evolution line introduced in this generation. I don't think anyone would be upset if Kingdra was its new replacement, with its classification being labeled as the Dragon Pokemon in the games. Kingdra also has all of our boxes checked as well, because its design and lore are all fitting to a creature of mystery and danger, especially for other Pokemon who live with it in the deep sea environments. And fun fact, its stats are much higher than average for this generation as a whole at 540. 10 points into his attack and 15 into his special attack grant the Seahorse extra power for sets that run physical Dragon Dance or sniper-oriented Draco Meteor spam. 10 more speed also lends for a more consistent Kingdra use overall, giving homage to its ability to set up and sweep on the battlefield. Rounding out the total means 5 extra HP and 10 points into special and physical defense, since I wanted to stick to the original design philosophy around Kingdra, being statistical balance and averages. Generation 3 is very interesting. Flygon, Aggron, and Gardevoir are the first that come to mind when thinking of Pokemon to fill this generation's slot. Call me controversial all you want, but after careful consideration, Gardevoir is my final pick for the pseudo-legend this generation. My reasoning comes from the duality between this Pokemon when compared to other typical pseudos. As an empath, the Embrace Pokemon Gardevoir uses its telekinetic powers to protect its loved ones with interdimensional black holes that transport enemies away. Gardevoir's feminine design further serves its purpose as a fairy tale level creature, no pun intended, so I'm happy with this pick. Aggron and Flygon are arguable contenders, I'll be real, but choosing a mystical psychic fairy type in a sea of dragon-themed contenders is a refreshing change of pace. Out of the 82 points, Gardevoir is receiving an extra 20 to its HP and defense, 10 points into its special defense, 25 into its speed, and 7 extra HP. Extra speed and defense lends Gardevoir into having greater success with Calm Mind and sweeping variants that trainers can use, providing longevity that was honestly just left out with its original design. With Generation 4 comes the unfortunate removal of Garchomp and the introduction of the most ridiculous contenders for this generation. My top 5 for Sinnoh narrowed down to Gallade, Togekiss, Mamoswine, Luxray, and Dusknoir, since each draft pick has iconicism and lore attached to it in the form of new evolutions, barring the choice of Luxray of course. I ultimately chose to first remove Dusknoir and Luxray from the equation though, with Dusknoir leaning a bit too far into the realm of darkness rather than a standout creature that is looked up to. Luxray would have been genuinely picked if it wasn't for the fact that it's an early game Pokemon. Ultimately though, my choice came down to Mamoswine for a few reasons. When I hear the word Sinnoh, my mind goes straight to Mamoswine. In a region full of towering mountains and snowy terrain, this mammoth not only fits Sinnoh's geography, but the pseudo-legend idea as a whole. It is quite literally an ancient prehistoric figure, with lore describing it living during the Ice Age 10,000 years ago and being depicted in cave paintings by nomadic peoples. Truly a Pokemon that is worthy of folklore and a legendary status. Gallade and Togekiss did come close as contenders, but their significance in the region does not even compare to Mamoswine's.
People literally need Mamoswine to traverse through the region when it snows. You can't tell me this thing does not deserve a spot on today's list.
Mamoswine's offensive typing and stats are superb off-rip, so investing 70 extra points needs to be done carefully. 15 more HP and defense combined with 20 additional special defense make up for a lack of speed, and combining these defenses with its hidden ability Thick Fat lean Mamoswine into a role that is more pivot-oriented. A speed stat of 90 up from 80 also gives it the jump on threats it faces in modern-day battles, like Koopa Unbound or Excadrill, and the same 10 points can be said for its attack, now sitting at a ruthless base of 140, which ultimately increases the viability of its two most diverse physical moves, being Ice Shard and Earthquake. Nearly half of the new pseudos have been chosen today, which leads us into my 100% unbiased opinion about Gen 5. Sorry to burst everyone's bubble, but Volcarona will not be chosen for the fact that it's only a 2-stage evolution as of now. A large Pokedex to choose from lets us draft pick Pokemon such as Conkeldurr, Chandelure, Crocodile, and even Gothitelle or Reuniclus to some extent. Ultimately though, it'd really be a slap in the face to choose anything other than Haxorus as our new pseudo. Both Drayden and Iris use a Haxorus on their gym leader teams in the first Black and White games, with Iris using one again in the sequels for her champion team. Having personality traits that are described as territorial and protective, Haxorus utilizes its sharper than steel tusks to cleave through enemies with ease, and a design that resembles a scaly dragon proves itself to look and act like a pseudo legend. I threw 10 points into both its attack and speed to bring out the personality traits that make it one of the most feared Pokemon in the region, and 10 more points into every other category give Haxorus statistical balance that is seen in every pseudo legend.
I'm gonna be upfront too, makes me very upset that Goodra is on its way out, but the thing is, we have Aegislash and Talonflame. So am I really that upset?
Talonflame got scrapped for the same reason Luxray did, being an early game encounter that'd be too strong at the start of an already really easy game. This quite literally leaves us with Aegislash as our only other option for a pseudo, because the XY Pokedex with 69 new Pokemon is drier than the desert resort itself. Unironically working perfectly though, Aegislash is the royal sword Pokemon, serving generations of kings and leaders that used its spectral powers to manipulate people and test one's loyalty to the throne. After all, the XY Elite Four is set in a damn castle, with Wickstrom featuring one on his team of steel types. Buffing him after Game Freak struck him with a significant nerf feels awkward, so just bear with me for these adjustments. To continue its original philosophy with 2 forms, 30 extra points into its special and physical defense contribute to this stat total. The 40 remaining points get split into both attack values, and of course, these numbers are swapped when Aegislash is in its shield and blade form respectively. Coming off of a regal, luxurious vibe in Kalos leads us right into the relaxive state of Alola, a personal favorite region of mine. Despite still having a smaller new Pokedex at 88, I narrowed my choices down between Vikavolt and Serena, since quite literally every other evolution in this game is only 2 stages. Without any shock, Vikavolt is the undecided winner for this category, even though it is an early game encounter. We just don't have very many options to work with this time around. Serena is cool and has some interesting qualities to back it up, like its quirky nature where it punishes those who it disagrees with, but Vikavolt just takes the cake over it as being overall much more unique with its capabilities as one of the few bug electric types. It swiftly confuses and attacks opponents with its flying maneuvers, backed up with its speed stat of... wait, 43? Huh? Yeah, no. This is an embarrassment and a huge mistake by Game Freak to make this charged up bug something truly unique. So I'm shamelessly contributing 70 out of the 100 available points into its speed stat to make it correlative with its lore and dex entries. 113 speed is then complemented with more defenses, particularly 30 extra HP, which alleviates both ends of the defensive spectrum for Vikavolt. An organ in its body is also responsible for its energy and electricity production, hence the large HP increase to biologically represent this side of it. Y'all think I made him too overpowered? Just let me know in the comments. Hang in there folks, because we only have 2 more generations to wrap up. Grimmsnarl, Appletun, and Hatterene in the Galar region make up my top 3 picks. To introduce the first Fairy-type pseudo-legend, Grimmsnarl was my ultimate decision for Generation 8. I'm choosing to make its stats resemble those of a mixed attacker, since its Dark Fairy typing can utilize their strongest moves in the attack and special attacking category respectively. 30 extra special attack and 25 speed allow it to make quick work of similarly tiered opponents that outspeed it. Goodra and Hoopa both come to mind. 25 more special defense with an extra 10 defense brings some balance to its stat pool, intentionally giving Grimmsnarl a defensive weakness that other trainers can exploit. Finishing off with Generation 9 is unfortunately just awkward, as it's another generation with a disproportionate amount of second stage evolutions. The 3 choices that fit best include Tinkaton, Ceruledge, and Coalossal, which are fortunately pretty good options to me. However, Tinkaton and Coalossal were immediate throwaways, because Ceruledge takes the cake better than the other 2 in every regard. Ceruledge lives to avenge its past owner of its armor from their uncompleted goal, using its flame-engulfed arm swords to hack up any foes without mercy. And with 75 points to transform it, we might as well make it ruthless by throwing 20 points into speed and 5 into attack, since he is a rapid attacker after all. Giving a Pokemon like this a weakness comes with investing points into HP and special defense. 25 and 5 points respectively leave a remainder of 20 for its special attack, rounding out the average so balance is maintained. And that's all, folks. Who would you declare a pseudo, and what would you do to their stats to change them? Comments below. Until next time.